This is Jimmy Fasig. I'm with Fasig Brooks Law Offices. I'm in the middle of a 3-part series about how to get what you want without even trying. The first part was about accepting full responsibility for where you are right now, so that you can use that as a launch pad, as standing in a place of power so that you can create your reality in the future. This part has to do with negative emotions and eliminating all negative emotions. Now, I learned that negative emotions are the main blockages toward getting what we want in life, and I learned it in a very interesting way. So, as I said in the first series, I had gone to prison. I had learned about creating positivity and controlling my emotions from the beginning, so that I could control my actions to make better decisions and create a reality that I wanted. But this is an important factor to consider, is that even while I had read all the self-help books and I had practiced releasing negative emotions, it took a while, even after I had gotten out of prison. That was back in the 90s. It took a while for these concepts to really gel in my mind so that I understood the full meaning of it. And so this was back in 2008 or 9. I had a situation where I had already become a lawyer. I'd come out of prison. I had overcome many obstacles. I'd become a lawyer, and I'd become a partner in a law firm. But I was still hanging on to some negative emotions that I felt for my childhood, for somebody that was a big factor in my childhood. And I didn't even realize that I was holding on to this anger and this resentment. So I ended up having some very challenging financial times. Despite the fact that I was a lawyer and I was a partner in a law firm, I'm going through these really challenging financial times. They were so bad that I ended up I lost a car. I had a car repossessed, and my house was going to be foreclosed on, and it was a really, really hard time for me. This is back in 2008 or so, when everybody was having hard financial times. But what I didn't realize is that those hard financial times were created by the negative energy that I was holding on to. And the way that came to light was in 2011. I know this sounds strange, but I'm just keeping it real. I'm going to tell you like it is. I had a dream in 2011. And in that dream, I was about to graduate. I was about to walk across the stage. There was a stadium full of people. They're all cheering me on. And standing next to me is my mom. And then there's my dad. And then there's this other person who was this really negative figure in my childhood. Somebody that really was evil, was the manifestation of evil in my childhood, that I was holding on to all this negative emotion for. And I looked at her and I said, "What are you doing here?" And she said, Jimmy, I love you so much. She said, "I want you to know I am so proud of you and the man that you've become." She said, "I came to earth to play the role of this evil person in your life so that you could learn the lessons you needed to learn to become the man that you've become." And then she gave me this big old hug, and I could feel the love coming from her, and I just started crying. I started bawling like a baby. And the next thing you know, I woke up, and I don't know if you've ever woken up from a dream where you're actually literally crying actual tears, but I woke my wife up, and she held me for like an hour, and I just sat there, and I was just sobbing like a baby. And at that time I was processing the dream, and I was trying to understand really what it meant. And I don't know about you, but I believe dreams are coming from our subconscious mind, which they actually have real meaning for us. And I think that what the dream meant as I was processing it is that everything bad that's ever happened to us has happened for a reason. That there's something that we needed to learn as souls that are evolving on this planet Earth that was meant to help us become the people that we're supposed to be. And therefore, anything bad that has ever happened to us in the past was part of our lessons in molding us and molding our character, because we've come here to this life to learn lessons and to become a more perfected person. And so once I realized that, it was fascinating because I was able to forgive not only the person that was in my dream, but I was able to forgive anybody who had ever done me wrong, and I was able to forgive anyone who had ever done anybody wrong. Because I realized that everything bad that happens in this world has an ultimate good outcome. And so I was able to release all the negativity and all the negative emotions that I was just hanging on to about all the evil in the world, about all the bad things that you see on the news, about anybody that I'd ever done wrong, and also to forgive myself for anything that I had done wrong. And as I'm sitting there crying in my wife's arms, I'm releasing all this emotion, and it was a very freeing experience. So the next thing you know, that evening, I had the worst headaches that anybody's ever had. I mean, it was the worst headaches I've ever had in my life. I felt like lasers were cutting into my brain, and I went to the emergency room twice, and it was a horrible experience. And then that was on a Friday, I kept having the headaches. I went to the emergency room twice. On a Sunday, I just told my wife, I said, listen, don't let the kids in here. I'm just gonna lay in my bed and meditate for a while, try to get control of these headaches. Next thing you know, during the meditation, I had this experience where I literally released all this dark energy that was coming from me, and it went literally out of my body and out of my head, and I could just feel this energy being released from me. And after the meditation, at the end of the meditation, sounds weird, and you're going to think I'm strange, but I heard a voice in my head, not in my ears, but in my head, that said, congratulations, you just released all of your self-defeating programs. You just released all your self-defeating programs. Now that sounds very weird, and even to me, I was like, damn, that's weird. But guess what? It actually happened. I'm telling you the way that it actually happened, and this is the most fascinating part about the whole thing. That very week, I kid you not, my law partners settled 2 huge cases, and I personally made $600,000 in personal income that very week, the very week that I released all my self-defeating programs, the very week that I had the headaches and the voice in my head. So that's how I learned, kind of the hard way, that the negative emotions that we hold on to, they block us in our moving forward, in our in creating the reality that we want. So that is segment 2. I know that it's just a couple of mind-blowing things in there, and if you haven't thought that I'm crazy already, wait until you see segment 3 is coming up next.